And with the 2017 draft firmly behind us, it is now time to start looking at 2018. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Preseason Reports here on the Evolution Network. I am your host, Joseph Potter, and today we are looking at Wyoming quarterback Josh Allen. Now, many people are looking at Allen as a second-round prospect. I'm looking at him more at this point as a late first-round prospect, mid to late first, and the reason why is he's really not that dissimilar from another top quarterback prospect that from 2018 that I'll be discussing in a later preseason report. Now, the preseason report itself is all about looking at what these players have done coming up into the previous season, and it's all about getting to know what these players need to work on, what their strengths are, what their weaknesses are, leading into the season where they could potentially join the NFL draft. Now, Josh Allen, Wyoming, I watched 2 games of his, BYU and Nebraska. These 2 games showed a lot. He has a lot of strengths, which is very good. Also has some weaknesses that don't really correspond with the NFL game. First, let's start with his strengths, the pros in his game. He's got a strong arm, can launch the ball, throw it on a rope. There's no denying that. He's an athlete. He's mobile. He gets around the pocket. He runs. He can run the ball across the line, but more importantly, he can get away from a rush. He has a very good throwing motion. Keeps the ball high, 2 hands on it. Doesn't make a lot of turnovers through fumbles. Always a good thing. He's poised in the pocket. That's hard for a lot of quarterbacks these days. It seems like there are fewer and fewer quarterbacks capable of sitting in the pocket and not getting rattled when a rush comes. And he showed in those 2 games, especially when he was dealing with the Nebraska game, that he had a good bit of poise. His play-action game was excellent. He got extremely close to a lot of quarterbacks. They just hold the ball out there, pull it back quickly, and then get up and ready to throw. He held that thing out there. The running back almost ran into it, pulled it out at the last second. Did a miraculous job. Impressive. His pocket awareness. This is something I've noticed a few of the top quarterbacks in this class have. They have good pocket awareness. That's something that they all share. And when it comes to his pocket awareness, he is capable of stepping up in the pocket. He's extremely good at stepping up in the pocket. He notices when the rush comes, and he doesn't get frazzled, and that goes back to his poise. So those 2 are directly linked, and it's a very good combination for him. Field vision, he looks off receivers. He always makes 2, 3, sometimes 4 reads. He's very good at this. Now, on the flip side, even though he looks the field well, he forces passes. His decision making is not there. It's not even close to where it needs to be. He'll look off the receivers, he'll make all his reads, but he'll pass up an open receiver or a receiver that would be a much more high percentage pass for somebody who's double covered. He'll try to throw the ball over a double coverage. And that's difficult for him because he doesn't have great touch, especially on his deep ball. He tends to throw things on a rope constantly, and he doesn't get much touch. So he's going to have to learn to place that ball over his receiver's shoulders and making things easier on his receivers to catch the ball. And that corresponds with his deep accuracy, which his accuracy isn't what you would like it to be, and his deep accuracy especially, he'll make some bad passes short, he'll make some bad passes long. But long is what he has the most trouble with. And then he has, and that goes straight into what I believe the problem is with his accuracy, is that he has a wide stance. His footwork isn't quite there. When he throws the ball, he has good footwork to get back. But then when he throws the ball, he takes a wide step. You can't take a wide step. It's always long to short. You always want to get back there quickly, wider steps. But you want to throw with a short step into the throw with your toe pointing toward the receiver that you're throwing to. And he does not do that on a consistent basis. He'll widen his step. He'll do things that, with that step, maybe not line it up correctly. Maybe he'll have it wide. Sometimes he does both at the same time. And add that to his decision making and so on and so forth. And in the end, what you have are consistency issues. And it all stems from the footwork, the touch, and it really creates some bad accuracy and leads to consistency problems. This is a problem that I've seen with a lot of quarterbacks for the 2018 draft class. Well, yes, most of them are underclassmen. You'll see a very distinct look at these guys due to poor mechanics. There's one quarterback, which I'll talk about later, holds the ball with one hand, long wind-up, footwork's all over the place, his release point's all over the place. Yet he's considered a top quarterback in the class. Another one has great upper body mechanics, poor footwork. Needs to work on his footwork. A couple times I'm surprised he didn't fall on his face the way he crossed his feet. And Allen's no different from that. He's got the raw talent needed. He has the pocket awareness needed. He has the arm needed. He has the athletic ability needed. He's got the play action needed to where he can potentially play in a West Coast system. He's got the arm strength to play in a wide open system. I don't think the system itself is going to harm him much depending on where he gets drafted. What does concern me is the mechanical issues. If he can get down and fix his decision making, if he stops forcing passes, that'll cut down on his interception rate. And I've seen him throw several interceptions that easily could have been avoided if he would have used a check down. if he would have used his tight end instead of trying to force it to a receiver. And these happen far too often with him. So those are some of the things that I witnessed when it came to Josh Allen and his mechanics. And something else I would like to touch on a little bit when it comes to Allen and what he's going to end up going through is what he's going to end up going through this year. And the big thing is he was a sophomore last year. He's got great size, 6'5", 222 pounds. And playing for the Wyoming Cowboys, it's not exactly your most glamorous position. Last year's season schedule, Northern Illinois, the aforementioned Nebraska game, which I watched, UC Davis, Eastern Michigan, Colorado State, Air Force, Nevada, Boise State, Utah State, UNLV, San Diego State, New Mexico, San Diego State, and then ended up with the bowl game that I mentioned earlier that I watched against BYU, a 24-21 loss. Now, I want to focus on that bowl game for a second. He was 17 of 32, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. One of those interceptions I watched was thrown into double coverage. It was one of those incidents where you had somebody that was open on one side of the field, but he decided, even though he looked over there, to throw it into double coverage. That is an issue that he's going to have to work on. He's going to have to work on, take what's given to me. Because if I keep trying to force it, he threw 28 touchdowns last year. He did an amazing job with touchdowns. Threw for 3,200 yards. But he had 15 interceptions. He had 3 interceptions against UC Davis. He had 5 interceptions against Nebraska, which was atrocious. 1 touchdown, 5 interceptions. Made some beautiful throws. Showed a lot of poise. But out of those 16 beautiful throws, he had 16 bad throws, and 5 of those 16 bad throws were intercepted. Other than that, he threw an Eastern Michigan interception. He threw 2 interceptions against San Diego State, 2 interceptions against BYU, 2 interceptions against UNLV. In the end, he threw a total of 4 multiple interception games. Far too many for a top prospect. So he's going to have to cut down on these bad decisions, because these are costing him. And then you look at his running game. Something I normally don't like is when I see a lot of quarterbacks running the ball too often. But what I'm seeing here is I don't see him dominating the running game and not throwing the ball. He's got 29 attempts, 32 attempts, 29 attempts, 27 attempts, 31 attempts, 26 attempts, 31, 31, 28, 31, all passing attempts. And then you see what he's doing his top rushing games: 10, 13, 14, 11, 15, 11, 13. And he's doing many of these in the same game. So I would say this is looking at, look at the Nebraska. No, let's go down a little bit. Let's look at the Boise State game. 42 offensive plays ran directly through Josh Allen. Now, that's an astounding number because these weren't just handoffs. Yeah, these weren't just passes. These were runs and passes. And that makes you think that maybe, they may be putting so much on him that he's forcing things. And if you start forcing things, as Allen has proven to have done, that can lead to issues. And if you put too much on a young quarterback before he's ready, remember, he was a sophomore, first-year starter, and you've got him running about 70% of your offense. And I'm not talking just passes. I'm not talking your normal handoffs and everything. I'm talking anything that could potentially be a positive yard. That starts to worry me a little bit, that they may be doing things that could, while boost his confidence when he's doing well, also potentially undermine his confidence if he has too many of those Nebraska games. Though, if you eliminate that Nebraska game, that 50% passing, 1 touchdown, 5 interception game, he has 27 touchdowns and 10 interceptions. You also have to realize he took 27 sacks. So, even though he has strong pocket awareness, what does that... He didn't force the ball as much as he probably could, because he did end up being sacked quite a bit. So I had to wonder about the pass protection on that Wyoming offensive line, because we know they're good run blockers. Wyoming's known for its strong running game over the years, but what about its pass blocking? Because he only threw for 56% completions last year, even though he threw for over 8.5 yards per attempt. So, what I'm going to be looking for in the upcoming season is his decision making and his footwork. Touch can be taught. If he gets in the NFL, he has problems with putting touch on his passes. You can bet there's going to be a coach that's going to work on that with him. Consistency, I would think his consistency will even out once his footwork and works out. His deep accuracy will straighten itself out once his footwork gets straightened out. His decision making is an issue. He's got to make better decisions. He's got to take what the defense gives him. And that's something for a young quarterback that can oftentimes be difficult. But he does have the size. He does have the mechanics overall. He does have the athletic ability and the pocket presence to be one of these guys who comes into the first round and becomes a top 15 selection. If not, if he cannot correct these things, then it would probably be best suited for him to go back to Wyoming and continue his career and enter the 2019 draft rather than forcing his way into the 2018 draft. Because in 2019, if Josh Allen comes back, you're going to end up having a much stronger quarterback class in that vein. So, that was Josh Allen preseason profile here on the Evolution Network. And remember to join us tomorrow on the Draft Utopia podcast, because at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, we are going to be interviewing one of my favorite players, and that player is Ohio University's own safety. Ohio University's safety, Javon Hagan. Hagan will be coming in. He has a very good chance to be a high draft pick whenever he decides to come out. It might be this year. It might be next year. Yeah, I don't know. He's got a couple years. He's a redshirt sophomore this year, and he has a lot of upside. And so join us, Draft Utopia podcast tomorrow. Myself, Chris Ransom. Not sure if Ryan's going to be with us. We're going to be interviewing Javon Hagan, safety, Ohio Bobcats, 6'1", 211 pounds. So, for me, Joseph Potter, your host, the Evolution Network, brought by Draft Evolution. Have a good night.